company, and then become your own bank, lend to yourself. So when you do want to buy a house, you do want to buy the car, you could borrow from your own bank and, in a sense, double dip on your money.
Got it. And this is good stuff because Will, there I remember that I was part of a company very briefly. I'm not gonna say the name, but it sounds it rhymes like Captain America. My son, he has one of his toys out here that he likes to play with it, and so I always think about that. But I remember, and I'm gonna tell you the name because I don't mind giving out the name, but I remember Dave Ramsey. I got from his model: get out of debt as soon as you can. Pay off your debt as fast as you can, and invest the difference into a mutual fund and whatever that is. And also, while you're doing that, make sure that you get life insurance. And if you're going to get life insurance, make sure that it's a term life insurance.
Hmm.
Now, I'm not going to get into, why you should get life insurance, term life
Hmm.
insurance versus a whole life insurance or
Hmm.
an index universal life insurance, but I made a video on the difference between the three of them. And I remember I touched, imagine Dave Ramsey going up to Walt Disney and telling him, well, Walt Disney, you really shouldn't get, you know, Index Universal. I think you should
Right.
really get term life insurance.
Right.
Uh, what's your take? Not so much on what's the difference between each one of them. I think we really need to
Hmm.
take. I think we need to touch this subject,
Hmm.
in a different video. But what's your take on why there's a difference between the three of them, the whole life and the index universal and the term,
Hmm.
without making it so much about life insurance, but why there's a difference between each and every individual category
Hmm.
for the three of them?
Well, I think they're tailored towards different people. There's obviously there's a vital role that term life insurance plays, and I encourage everybody to get term life insurance because let's say you're the breadwinner and you die, um, then what happens to your family? Let's say you have two kids, and you're the breadwinner. That means that your wife, widow, now has to be the breadwinner, right? Um, and then getting a term life insurance alleviates that stress, right? What if that individual had $5 million of life insurance, term life insurance? That means that essentially the family could carry on for 20, 30 years without really being, in a hurdle, right? So that's what there's a place for term life insurance. Now, when it comes to like whole life and then more of the permanent, it depends on the strategy, what the individual's looking to do. Um, and that's about it. It's just different ways of looking at it. Now, when it comes to Dave Ramsey and other, companies like the one you mentioned, they believe buy term and invest the difference. Mutual funds get into the stock market, but we know what's going on in the stock market right now, and I'm like, yeah, that's not like the best advice. Good advice, but it's not the best. So I would say there's a big difference between who you listen to, because if you listen to a person like Dave Ramsey, cool, it works for a lot of people. But if you're a little more proactive with your money and want to be a little more involved in it and you want to research more, and you look at somebody like Robert Kiyosaki or Grant Cardone, they can say, no, like they'll agree with Dave Ramsey saying consumer debt is bad. And I agree 100%. Consumer debt is bad, meaning, oh, I want to buy a purse. I want to buy this. I want to buy that. I want to keep up with the Joneses. So I want to leverage my consumer credit card. Yeah, I don't encourage that. But when it comes down to like good debt, there's a difference. So let's say you had $50,000 that you could leverage credit wise and get into an asset that's producing you, let's say, $1,000 positive cash flow. That's good. You're leveraging that for something positive to happen. And I'm actually a big advocate of that. And I think that's what Dave Ramsey gets it not wrong, but he has a different way of seeing things because there's a story. Something happened to him when he started racking up a lot of debt. Now, he actually interviewed with Steve Graham, I think his last name is. I forgot who it is, but he's a big YouTube guy. And Steve Graham. It'll come back to me right now. But he actually interviewed him and he was looking over all the investment. He's like, well, you obviously know what you're doing. That's what Dave Ramsey said. This guy's leveraging debts. But Dave Ramsey had nothing negative to say because he knows how to play. Now, with Dave Ramsey, he got in a time where he was way over leveraged and he was super young. So when they called the loans, he was already belly up. This guy is using obviously a good strategy that's helping him produce positive cash flow and always have equity in the properties. So it's working for him. Now, I think the individual needs to figure out what is my place. What can I do? How can I leverage money? Do I want to be active in the investments? What strategy am I looking for? Do I want to continue to get compound interest without it being interrupted and having access to the capital? Okay, cool. Are you well? Oh, do I want to be more involved? Am I really shooting more for the equity and long term play with real estate? Okay, get into real estate and figure out how you can leverage debt because you know, debt is not tax. So figure out a way to leverage debt so you could scale up and have positive cash flow. It could be more of a strategy where you're paying less in taxes and that's your incentive opposed to the positive cash flow. But you have to figure out what is the game plan for you. And I think everyone has different game plans. Some people are okay getting a match 401k and that's it for their retirement. But what is a long term play? Well, you're a limited partner on the retirement account. The general partner, which is the partner that owns mostly your retirement account, is Wall Street because they profit from your 401k, from all the fees, and you're going to be taxed at the end from your retirement account, which means Uncle Sam is going to get paid north of 50% because everything is tax deferred. So when I talk to my clients, everyone has different ways of wanting to do things, and we just have to figure out what works for the individual.
Well, I think that you touched on a very very great subject when it comes to everybody's it's in a different stage. Um, you touched the subject of Dave Ramsey talking to Dave. I'm sorry, Bill. I'm saying Steve Graham, right?
Yeah, I think
Uh,
Graham. I gotta look him up.
yeah. So obviously, Dave Ramsey couldn't really say much because that's exactly what I tell when I talk to individuals when I'm on the phone with them. You know, in real estate. Oh, okay. So let me tell you a little about real estate. When you are in the real estate business, business doesn't come to you. You gotta go out there and hustle. And so one of the things that we do as realtors is we get on the phones and we talk to individuals on a daily basis. We have what it's called a farm. When you think of a farm is I'm gonna go and farm this area. I'm gonna go raise these sheeps, right?
Hmm.
So you have your farm and you take care of that farm. Hey,
Right.
how you doing today? You don't know me, I don't know you, but can I get to know you? Great,
Hmm.
okay, awesome. My name is so and so and so. So that's what it is. Once you get that, you add them to your what is called a database. Once
Hmm.
you're in your database, you do the necessary steps that you need to do.
Hmm.
So once you get them in your database, you talk to them, and it really comes down to I'm a buyer. I want to buy. And so you
Right.
have buyer A, B, and C. A, B, and C could be I want to buy now, or to buy, 6 months from now, I want to buy 12 months from now. But if I want to
Right.
buy now, I want to buy at 3% interest rate. But if it's not a 3% interest rate, maybe I don't want to buy now. Okay, great. I
Hmm.
want to buy now, but I don't care about the price. I care about the interest rate. I don't. I'm
Hmm.
sorry. I don't care about the interest rate. I care about the price. If it's low, I don't care paying 7%
Hmm.
interest rate.
Right.
So it just really comes down to the buyer's needs or the
Hmm.
seller's needs. Everybody has a different stage in their lives where they want to make a decision.
Hmm.
Everybody has a different financial situation in their lives where they want to make a decision. So one of the things that you touch is Dave Ramsey talking to Steve Graham and
Yeah.
saying, well, you there's really nothing else that I can do for you, because again,
Hmm.
like I was saying, imagine Dave Ramsey talking to Walt Disney and saying,
Right.
well, you know
Yeah.
what, Walt, you really shouldn't open up this,
Take out the
you know,
loan. Yeah.
take out a loan. But how
Yeah.
do you know that, that's the situation that you're in? I mean, you know, getting a term insurance,
Hmm.
might make sense for you because you know what,
Right.
I can pay my bills and so forth and so forth. But just sticking to the fact that you only have to get term, and if you get anything else outside of that, you're evil or you're this and that, and you don't belong to this.
Right.
For me is for the longest, like I said, Will,
Hmm.
I was part of this company, and I'm in the I'm in the at that point I'm in the I'm, I'm in the restaurant business,
Hmm.
but I'm a former Marine at that time. But I understand what's happening in the market. I
Right.
understand, how you need to invest your money, and I understand all, what's, the S&P 500 and index universal, and
Hmm.
I understand, all of that, and I understand real estate.
Hmm.
But then I have somebody else telling me, that I got to do this, and
Mm.
if I do anything else outside of that, it's bad. So my
Oh,
thinking is like, I'm here, but I understand everything else, but they're telling me I got to do this, and that's all I know. Then I'm like, yeah, I think I gotta lean towards that, and
yeah.
a lot of people do that,
Yeah.
and a lot of people do that, and they stick to that, and not
Yep.
necessarily just with with when it comes to just insurance and business and their financials, but in life in general.
Yep.
When it comes to, you need to be this way, because if you don't do this, then
Hmm.
you're that.
Yep. Hmm. That's
I
what
saw a
happens.
tweet
Yep.
from I saw a tweet from Guy Cardone. He says, you know, uh, oh man, I can't really remember. I put it on my post, but he says, there's the people that hustle. He says something like that. There's the people that hustle. There's the people that do this, and then there's
Hmm.
everybody else.
Yep.
So
Hmm.
my thinking for the longest was, I got to do that. And so I got to give credit to Dave, because Dave is in a position where he's at for a damn reason.
Oh yeah.
He's where he's at for a damn reason. He's doing heck of a lot better than I am,
Hmm.
and he's doing heck of a lot better than a lot of people is right now.
Right. Of course. And because that works for him.
That
Yep.
works for him. That
That's
works for
works for
him.
him.
But once I understood the concept, Will, of, man, there's something better than once I got out of debt, and then
Hmm.
once I got my first rental, my second rental in real estate,
Hmm.
and then it comes to, okay, what else can I do with my money?
Right.
Okay, what else can I do with it? Everybody else is in different stages in their
Every
in
different
their life.
stages, of course.
Soccer, the World
Hmm.
Cup is right around the corner. When before you get to
Right.
the World Cup, you got to go through the National League. Before you got to get to the National League, you got to go through the first class. Before you got to get to the first class, you got to go to the second league, and then the third
Hmm.
league, and then it just goes on and on. I believe that this is no
Yeah.
different, and so I believe that your industry, your business, whatever you have, going on for everybody else, is it's great. And it's for people that maybe they want to make that leap, they want to make that jump, or maybe they're at that
Hmm.
stage already where they just, what else do I got to do with my money?
Right.
And if I
Right.
don't have anybody else to show me what else I can do with my money, is like me 6 years ago.
Right.
Well, I think I got to go this way when I really should be going out to
Right.
that way.
And yeah, and everyone's gonna be different because there's people that have a different mindset. Now, there's other people that have more of a scarcity, more like, oh, I need to just like save and keep everything under my bed type of mentality. Other people are like, oh yeah, I got $50,000 to play. Let me throw into some Bitcoin, some Dogecoin. Let's see what happens, right? They're in that mindset. Other people that I talked to recently, they're thinking about buying different businesses, especially right now because a lot of people are retirement, in their business, or it's a lot. Alex Harmonzi, he said that about 5 years ago, if you would have approached him at that time, he would have sold his business for super cheap because he was at a place where he's like, man, this is too much for me. So everyone's in different stages. It's just a matter of what you're looking to do. Now, when it comes down to like the individuals and the strategy, if you follow Dave Ramsey's strategy to the teeth, you're gonna be wealthy. Like that's without a doubt. You're gonna be successful. Like that's it. Like it's facts. If you follow Grant Cardone's strategy, I think that takes a different mindset. It's not a scarcity playing a safe mindset. It's more like I'm gonna be proactive about my finances and risk it. But the way Grant Cardone puts it, there's no risk. There's more risk and scarcity than thinking abundance. And I see that because of how he carries himself, all the investments. I think he has over $1 billion of assets under management, right? Cash flowing so much where he could buy that private plane, that private jet, and he's still buying a bunch of properties, nationwide, always raising capital. So for him, he's in another place than Dave Ramsey, and that's okay. But it's just a matter of where you are, what you're looking to do, what you're comfortable with, and where you want to be in 5, 10 years, or when you retire. Hmm.
And well, I think I don't think I believe that you touch on a great subject there, because earlier in our conversation you talked about leveraging the depth. You got to know how to leverage the depth, and that's one of the things that most individuals talk about. In the Dave Ramsey
Hmm.
world, well, debt is a bad thing. Yes, it is a bad thing. If you have, $10,000 in credit card and all that debt, is it's involved in your car payment and
Hmm.
your computer, your television. Great,
You're
that's bad
consuming,
debt,
yeah, just consuming. Hmm.
consumer debt.
Hmm.
But there's also the good debt, and that's what Grant Cardone and
Right.
Robert Kiyosaki talk about, and even one of the great leaders that I admire a lot. That is Patrick Bet David. He talks about,
Oh yeah.
he
Hmm.
doesn't really talk about it, but that he talks about it. When it
Right.
comes to like good
Of
debt,
course.
there's a lot of good depth, that you can leverage, and that
Of
is,
course.
one of the things that I did for myself. If I may share, without
Hmm.
getting making it too much about me, is I went ahead and refund my house, and with that money, I went ahead and bought two more properties,
Mm.
for rental that I have for rent right now.
Hmm.
But little that I know at that time is that I can also do that with with the financial, with my life insurance.
Hmm.
Because again, I thought, for the longest, that I was a sheep,
Hmm.
and I'm like, little did I know, like, okay, I'm a sheep, I'm a sheep, I'm a sheep, I'm a sheep.
Yeah.
But man, there are some other tools that can make me, be the wolf of the sheep.
Oh
If
yeah, absolutely.
if I'm the sheep, like I can be like, if I'm involved in that sheep, man, you better believe that I can be
Hmm.
that sheep as well. But, so those are one of the things that I did not know for the longest, and that's why there's a lot of people that really need to understand the message that you're giving them when it
Hmm.
comes to life insurance.
Right.
Life insurance, and how they can leverage just becoming your own bank.
Of course.
Because when I used to think of life insurance for myself
Hmm.
personally, and I'm sure at that point, but I'm newer in, in just in this realm of
Hmm.
opportunity of what's out there.
Right.
So you're heck of a lot more experienced than I am right now at this point.
Hmm.
So Will is the man right now. but when it came to that, for me was, um, yeah, I just gotta have the money, in order for me to do that. And for me,
Right.
life insurance was like, yeah, life insurance is just another bill that I have to make. So it took me a
Mm.
minute, which I'm going to
Hmm.
transition to that in just a
Right.
minute, when it came to the mindset, because it took me a minute for me to transition from the mindset of scarcity to
Hmm.
abundance,
Right.
to really, it's just really not life insurance that I'm really
Hmm.
paying. I'm actually, I can make something more out of it. So for those people that are stuck in the, because I know a lot of them, bro. I
Hmm.
know a
I
lot
know.
of them,
I know a lot of them too. Trust me.
that are just, life insurance. Oh man, that's boring.
Yeah.
And,
Doesn't
and, and,
excite
and, and,
nobody.
and I'm in the real estate business, but I understand your business. I understand
Hmm.
your industry, bro. But what what do they need to do for that audience? Because again, this is not for everybody.
Right.
This is not for your typical Joe.
Hmm.
This is not for you 18, probably 19, 20-year old, maybe,
Hmm.
and maybe the 25-year-old, but maybe it's not. But what do they need to know, or what's the one thing that they need to probably shift when it comes to their mindset, when it comes to life insurance, and really what really life insurance can do for them in their
Right.
future when it comes to
Yeah.
generational wealth?
I'm gonna take it a few steps back, actually, if I may. I think the
Of
most
course.
important thing is, especially if you're the man of the house, if you're the breadwinner, if you're thinking legacy, if you're thinking in the future, I think most of us don't. We live in the moment, meaning what's going on? Oh, if my football team is playing, right? The barbecue this weekend. Oh, I want that car. Oh, I'm looking to get into the house. Like, we're very materialistic and just thinking about the here right now. We're not thinking about the future. So I think a lot of people miss it, where they're not really planning or organizing themselves to be in a better place financially. And because of that, when things happen, when there's a death in the family, all of a sudden we see, GoFundMe accounts. We see, barbecues, people selling tamales, right? We see all kinds of stuff when somebody either passes away, or there's a big illness. So I'll say the first thing is first. If you're putting money on the side for, you know, drinking beer, going to that restaurant, having Disney and Netflix, all the subscriptions in the world, right? You have all the access, but you're not really putting 20 bucks, 50 bucks towards just the term insurance. Then I think that's a good start right there. Start thinking about the future. Don't think about pleasures. Don't just think about consuming. Now, one thing that we have a saying here in our family, we say we're producers, we're not consumers. What does that mean? When it comes down to, oh yeah, I want that item that's $500. I want it because I'm going to enjoy myself. I have to really analyze that and have to figure, okay, is this going to produce any type of cash flow? Okay, is this just a want? So can I use that $500 and put it into my business to generate more cash flow, more passive income? Or is that better going to something that's going to give me pleasure? The asset, the cash flow is the producing side is always going to win over the consumer side. For me and my family, we have a phone. I tell people, this is a smartphone, but if you don't use this like it's meant to be used, which is to look up information, to be productive, to make money, to look up useful information, then this smartphone is going to become a dumb phone. A lot of people don't like hearing that. So I think that's the first start, right? Being proactive, having a different outlook about your future, preparing for retirement, preparing for the rainy days because they are going to come. I think a lot of people think, oh, I'm just going to hit 65 and the government is going to take care of me. It's just naturally going to it's just naturally going to, you know what? I'm going to move to another country, right? They just think, they don't really think much about their future. So the first thing is set up a game plan. take financial offense and figure out what you need to do to get ahead and not to be caught by surprise. Now, after that box is checked off, then we can figure out, okay, what is the strategy to build wealth? What is the strategy to produce positive income, cash flow? Then we have to figure out how can we leverage your income so you could put that money to work. And then for me, I actually focus on setting my clients up to become their own bank so they can leverage that money to get into real estate and talk to you potentially about getting a property that yields 8-10% cash on cash return. Now let's have that conversation of actually investing into assets. Now, with life insurance and what I do is not considered an investment because it does grow, right? We have a company that their cap is was 19%, but now they don't have a cap. So your money could grow further than 19%. That's great. But they don't call it an investment because it doesn't lose. It grows with the market, but there's a floor as well. So you never lose in investments, you lose money. And that's what they call it investments, because there's that probability. Now, I help people leverage those policies to have their money working twice. Instead of having their money grow just in one account, what if you grow in two accounts? And you just said something really cool, which is you pretty much bought a house, refinance, and then essentially invest into more real estate. What if you could set up an IUL, a life insurance policy? You could borrow money from that, buy a property, right? And then from there, keep on, doing that. That's a good strategy. You having your money work for you instead of working for money. And that's where I don't know if your viewers have read the cash flow quadrant, but it talks about how to go from employee to self-employed to business owner to an investor. Warren Buffett, I believe he's worth man, I don't want to get this wrong, but I think anywhere from 50 to $100 billion,
Around
and he
there.
hasn't worked. He doesn't work. All he does is what? Invest money. He makes more money than the CEO of Coca-Cola, even though he has a shares in Coca-Cola, meaning he's investing money in it and he's getting compensated for it. So what I have to say is that focus on your foundation first, then figure out what your next step is. Because if your foundation is not taken care of and you're just trying to skip a step, then I think it's not a good place to be in. If your foundation is strong, if foundation is not strong, then your house is going to be shaken.
Um, and I was gonna touch something, but right before you ended, you said a foundation,
Mhm.
and usually when I talk about when I'm talking to clients, I talk to them about just having a solid foundation. Um, whether that is okay, great, we're gonna buy a house, okay, awesome, so I picture them just buying a house, and so it's just just having that foundation, and then you build the walls, and then you build the roofs, and then you build everything else. For me personally, building a foundation is just make sure that your finances are straight, and within that
Right.
foundation comes the gravel, the concrete, the
Mhm.
mixing, and all that. Okay, great. Where are your finances? How much income do you have? How much debt do you have? Do
Mhm.
you have do you have life insurance that's going to get
Right.
you to get you to build that wall?
Right.
And so that is the analogy that I always like to use. But
Absolutely.
you know
One thing that I
that
was
that,
going to
that
say too. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was gonna say that is a great point that you bring up. Because everybody needs to have that financial foundation,
Mhm.
and it comes to having yourself, your finances straight. And part
Mhm.
of it, as boring as it is, do you have yourself life insurance? Are you
Mhm.
insured? Do you are
Mhm.
you are you insured to make sure that if you get this house? Because if you're gonna insure your iPhone, if you're gonna insure, like, I love when you said this can be a smartphone or a dumb phone.
Yep.
I never heard that before. So
Yeah.
that is a great analogy. That is
Yes.
great to put it
Hmm.
out. But do you have your finances on point?
Yeah.
Because I truly believe that just becoming your own bank in order for you to get yourself more real estate, it's a great way, through doing this.
Absolutely.
And that is one of the ways, when you said, life insurance is really, you don't really have to see it as a, this is what I took, I don't know if this is what you really meant,
Hmm.
but you don't really have to see it as an investment. You can see it as a leverage. You can see it as a way
Leverage.
to
Hmm.
leverage yourself for you to become your own bank, so that
Yep.
therefore you can go ahead and buy some more real estate.
Exactly. Like if you pass away, let's say tomorrow, and you don't have life insurance, group me is gonna, or not group me, but I'm looking at my group me right here. No,
Yeah, I
what
know.
is that?
GoFundMe.
GoFundMe. That's gonna be your family's provider, right? To cover the expenses, your burial expenses. But what about that? What about the following month? It's like, oh dang, my family is, they have to go to work. My wife has to go to work. We're like, for us, we have two kids. My wife is a stay-at-home mom. If she has to go back to work, right now in Texas, we have no family. Nobody could take care of our kids. What does that mean? Childcare. How much is childcare for two kids? Right? How much do I make?
Expensive.
Okay, so she's not involved in the business. I'm very proactive in the business. What does that mean, right? So we got to look at all those things. A lot of people have to be looking at those things and be like, "Oh snap!" Not not if, it's like when something happens to you. You might die tomorrow. You might die in 50 years. But regardless, there needs to be a form of life insurance in place. There needs to be a short time strategy and a long term. Long term means that you build enough wealth where you don't need a term life insurance. But let's say you already have, $20 million of accumulated cash value, which means that at that time you could still borrow for more investments, or you could just retire and use that money tax free, right? So you have to look at both sides of it. And yeah, life insurance plays a crucial role, because within just this year alone, I've had so many people die, that I know, or people that I know, and it's been devastating. And some of them have been breadwinners. And how does a family carry on like that, right? Or carry on after that? And that's devastating. So yes, life insurance should be something that everyone should do. But what strategy should you use? Should you use a term? Yes. Should you look at an IUL, a permanent life insurance? Absolutely. Question is, what is the strategy? What are you looking to accomplish? And we'll go from there. We'll figure out what kind of assets you want to invest in. What are you interested in? Some people want to invest in businesses and different type of investments. I like real estate, so I'm always going to point people to invest in real estate because I love it. Single family, commercial, land development, everything real estate. I'm all for it. Mainly because I used to raise capital for investment, so I've seen the returns. Um, but I think you have to figure out what works for you, what you're comfortable with. And you could start by just reading books. Read books like Rich Dad Poor Dad, right? Think and Grow Rich. And there's so many different books that you could read, so you could, to begin to start thinking differently about money and seeing things from another lens. The other one is networking. If you hang around with people that are making $40,000 a year, and all they do after work is maybe drink beer, maybe chill, maybe play video games as a 30-year-old, 40 year, I mean, I'm not gonna judge, but come on, right? We gotta be thinking differently. So you need to change the circle of friends that you're around, which is nothing like negative to say about your friends necessarily, but if you want to go to a certain place, that means you have to change your circle. And the best way to do it is by start networking. How do I start networking? Well, you go to meetup.com, LinkedIn, Facebook. You see somebody that's having some type of success, or somebody that you aspire to be like, hit them up. Hey, what book should I read? Hey, what meeting should I attend? simple things like that. Then from there, start beginning to get those connections and changing your circle. The other thing I was going to say is that the Bible talks more about money than the Bible talks about heaven and hell. What does that mean? Well, it doesn't mean that God needs your money. It talks about that there's a certain level of attachment, certain level. We have to manage money in a certain way. So, do we have an abundance mindset, a generous mindset, or do we have a just like what I just want to die and have a bunch of toys and pretty much die very selfish? You decide. So the Bible is there to teach us how to be generous, how to operate in a mindset of abundance and giving. I mean, when the church started, everyone will sell off their goods in order to take care of each other. So the Bible talks about generosity so much that a lot of people miss it.
You know, I love the fact that you touched the Bible. I'm reading this book right now that talks about just being faith minded, and
Mm,
it's really not about it's really not about just becoming a millionaire, just becoming
hmm.
faith minded.
Right.
And when you say the Bible really talks about money, and it's really not about
Hmm.
money, it's
Mm.
just really how to become abundant. That's
Yes.
one of the things that I take away from what you just said right
Hmm.
now.
Absolutely.
And when you touch the fact that when you said start reading more books, because
Hmm.
yesterday I came into a scenario where
Hmm.
somebody said something, and that person looked at me briefly when they said something, and I'm like, I know that you're saying that to me.
Mm.
And you're the leader of this place, and you're
Hmm.
saying that to me. Now the old me would have reacted as in,
Hmm.
I would have reacted in front of the 20 other people that are there,
Hmm.
said something, right? Or I would have, which I thought about, for like probably 2 hours, like you linger on my head. I'm like, should I go to her office and tell her this? But I
Hmm.
decided not to. But then yesterday during a training that I was in, somebody mentioned something. He says, the more books, and this is what you just said right now, the
Hmm.
more books that you read, the more muscle you bring, you build in your mind. The more muscle you build in your mind, the more you are able to take on not necessarily what somebody says to you,
Hmm.
but the more you are able to reason when somebody or something happens in your life.
Right.
And therefore, you can react in a very responsible way
Hmm.
and not in a very reactive way, which I would
Yep.
have reacted yesterday when that happened.
Hmm.
And I'm thinking to myself, like, man, I'm gonna go freaking like I'll go tell her this. But
Yeah. Yeah.
that which the good and the evil, like the movies that we see, there's like the angel
Yeah.
and then the bad person.
Right. Right. Right.
The angel, took the lead on that, but that is what you just said right now.
Right.
The more books that you read, the more books that you are able to come to reason to. And I know we're touching a lot about money, and I know we're touching a
Right.
lot about building your wealth and all that. But and this is one of the subjects the last subject that I wanted to talk to you,
Hmm.
Will, because you're one individual that I respect a lot. Because
Appreciate
you're
you.
always posting great content, on your social media, and we're gonna post a link on the video when it goes live.
Awesome. Thank
You know
you.
who you are, but more people need to follow you because you're always talking about yes, the money, but not necessarily about the money. It's just just becoming just a better version of yourself,
Hmm.
which is ultimately what drew me to you.
Mm.
Just have and that's why I have it on my thing, how to be unstoppable, because
Hmm.
this is the name of the video today, just
I
how
love
to
it.
become unstoppable, because
Hmm.
uh i I believe that it all starts with the mindset. But
Oh, yeah.
with that, Will, uh what is the one thing, how many kids do you have, Will?
I got two kids.
Two kids. Okay, awesome.
Yep.
So what is the one thing? I also have kids of my own, but what is the one thing that you would say, for that individual? Because I believe that I see ourselves as bridge builders.
Hmm. Of course.
Somebody went through the struggle. I believe that you were broken one point in your life. I was
Hmm.
hella broken one point in my life. I was in the Marine Corps. All I thought about was just like partying it up. I thought about just
Mm.
like going to the club and then just drinking and whatever that was. I didn't have any
Right.
kids at that point, but I know that somebody's going through the struggle that we went to, at some
Mm.
point, and they may be parents at some point, or they may be thinking about being parents
Hmm.
at some point in the future.
Hmm.
So, what is the one thing, Will, that you can contribute to the audience? Or just about being a bridge builder, on just
Hmm.
being from where you were at one point of thinking, I can do that, I can do that, I can do that,
Hmm.
but you know what? I don't think I can. Like I have
Hmm.
all of this garbage in my bag. I'm this. I went through all of that. Yeah, that. I don't think so. It happened to Will. It happened to
Hmm.
him. It happened to her. Yeah, that's not me. What's the one thing, Will, that
Hmm.
you can say that person can use right now at this point of their life, where they are right now, where you and I once were, to get to where they really want to be?
Yeah, of course. I think there is a level of changing who you are, changing your identity. For me, I got a moment where I was going, in a very dark path. God changed my life completely 180, and then from there, decided to give up my life completely and have God not only restore me, but um, build me into this new person. The Bible says that don't be conformed by the ways of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. And I believe that a lot of people are suffering with the old self, meaning they're trying to like get their past, they're romanticizing with their past, and they're bringing their past into their future because we think about 99 point, I think it's like 95 or close to 98% of the thoughts that we had yesterday, we're going to have them today, and most likely we're going to have them tomorrow, which means that tomorrow is the what? Thursday. So you got to think about what did he do last Thursday? Okay, so you went to work, you got off, you listened to your favorite radio station or song, you went home, you had dinner, then what did you do? So most likely tomorrow you can do the same thing that you did last Thursday, right? And that's a fact because most people don't renew their minds. They're not thinking, "Oh wow, today's Thursday. It's a new day. It's a wonderful day. How can I impact my family? How can I give value to my community? How can I just feed the homeless right now? Like you're not gonna have that random thought if you're not first renewed, if you're not first thinking in abundance. So I would say you gotta come into a place that you gotta figure out what you want in life, and then from there, align yourself with people that are going there in order to change the direction that you're going.
So you're saying, just getting, this is one of the things that you touched earlier,
Mhm.
just getting, around the right people,
Exactly.
you
That's
know,
key already. Proximity.
proximity,
Mhm.
getting around the right people, because as you were saying that, I thought about those days that I had in the Marine Corps, where I'm thinking, I gotta get around that guy, because that guy, he likes to go party every Friday, so that's who I
Mhm.
was, hanging out with, and that's who
Right.
I was becoming.
Mhm.
um, but little that I know is, I'm 22, 23 years old. It's who's gonna teach me about, if I get around the right people, that's eventually the habits that I get to pick up, and that's really the
Exactly.
audience that I'm really, trying to get to. It's the audience that maybe it's not even in their in their mind at this moment, but
Mhm.
they're going through that struggle, and they need to hear that one thing. And it may be associations, it may
Mhm.
be, the Bible. Yeah, I don't
Mhm.
like it about the Bible, because the Bible talks about Jesus Christ, and that, great. You touch the facts that maybe it's about money. Oh, you know what? That's interesting. I'm not so about my money. It's not so much about money. It's about
Hmm.
something else. And then you said something about abundance in the Bible. So I
Hmm.
think that's very important. It's just getting around the right people,
Exactly.
associating yourself with the right individuals that are gonna uh just get you in touch. Maybe you're not the one person.
Hmm.
Maybe that one person that it's the one person that they need to talk to. But if it's not the one person, they might be the one that they need to talk to. So it's like
Absolutely.
somebody that knows somebody that knows somebody that knows somebody
Right.
that knows somebody. So
Yep.
I that's this is the way I see it. But
Absolutely. And
man,
with that, you have to fight really. A lot of people suffer from insecurity, suffer from like being shy, a lot of different things. So you have to figure out, okay, what do I want out of life? And again, how do you position yourself like to get there? Because if you're like, man, I want to associate myself with those type of people that are investors, that are business savvy, but I just don't feel like I fit in, blah blah blah. But you're already fighting your insecurities, your limited beliefs. Because if you're reading books and you're like, you know what, I may be the dumbest person in the room, but at least I'm gonna be in the room. Let me be a waiter. What's wrong with being a waiter, right? But whatever it is, if I serve water or I'm just there taking notes, just be in the room. And that's what I feel like has helped me so much. Where when I started raising capital for investments, again, I come from the hood. I come from brokenness, where drug dealers, thugs, that's who we looked up to. Not going into circles where they talked about raising 20, 30, 50 million, 100 million for an investments. I'm like, what the heck? Like 100 million, like 10 million, 20 million. What the heck? Like, who talks like this? But the more I started being around this type of people, the more I was approached with 100,000, 300, 500,000. I was approached about a year and a half ago with about 10.5 million to invest. And I'm like, okay. At that point, I was already it was very normal in my circle. I just approached it like, okay, so let's talk over the structure, what you're looking to do, what type of returns, the asset, the yield, everything. So the conversation was different at that point, but it all starts with renewing your mind, associating yourself with other people, and then figuring out ways to help people to solve problems.
and I love that's awesome. It's just associating yourself with the right people, because I'm
Mhm.
reading this book right now that touched uh, briefly touched how it took 100, well, whatever it took, but from the time that they were trying to discover a mountain, which it was Mount
Mhm.
Everest. It took 100
Mm.
years. And
Wow.
I and have my notes somewhere else, but it took 100 years to discover Mount Everest. Once they
Wow.
discovered Mount Everest, and that person made the climb to get up to the top. After that, so it took 100 years for that person to get up to the top. After
Mhm.
that those 100 years passed by, it took 1 year for the next person to go up there. And then after
Wow.
that 1 year, that person it took him a year to go up there. It took them 6 months, 4 months, 12 months, and now there's like so many people a year just going up to
Wow.
Mount Everest. The point of that is that
Oof.
somebody pay. Tony Robbins always says that success leaves clues.
Close. Mhm.
So it takes that one person to pave the way, and if that individual paves the way, guess what? It is possible. And
Yes.
so, like you were saying, 500,000, 600,000, $1 million. At one point it didn't seem possible. Well, just because you associated yourself with the right people, now guess what? They paved the way. Now you can see
Mhm.
the end line out there, and
Yep.
you're following those steps. And this is what is it really all about. Just associating with the right people. Just being around the right people. And Will, this is why I wanted to bring you on board, because you're a great individual. I always see your content. You're someone that always posting great stuff, and I hope this is not the last time that we get to do this.
Oh,
This
we're
is
gonna do more things. Yeah, we're gonna collaborate.
Man, this was such a good time. I know we were supposed to go for about an hour, but I think we went
No, you
way
said
more
30
than
minutes.
that.
You said 30 minutes. I'm
It's
like, oh, I got 30
Yeah,
minutes, bro.
I told Will 30 minutes, 45 minutes maybe at the most, but
Yeah,
it's just that Will has
it's
so
great.
much great stuff, that he can bring to the table, and he adds so much value when it comes to just the mindset, when it comes to just being an individual that brings just valuable content, how to shift your mind, how to manage your money, and just being right around the right people. This is the go all good stuff. And Will, thank you so much for being bringing coming in today with my audience.
Mhm.
Let me know when is the next time that I can come into your audience, because I'll be happy to do so.
We'll
you know
do
you know
something very soon,
you
bro.
know
We'll do something
you know
very soon. Appreciate you, man. Thank you so much
you
for
know
having me. This was a great show. I think a lot of people are going to be impacted, but there's going to be, I would say 99, not 99, but at least 98% are not going to do nothing about this message. But the 2% that are listening to this, if you grab at least maybe less than a quarter of everything that we talked about, and you believe it, and you're like, you know what, regardless of my emotions, I'm just going to run with it. In 2 years, you're going to look back and say, man, I remember that podcast. I remember the day that I listened to those two individuals, and it impacted my lives. You may not remember our names, but you're gonna remember how you were activated after this point. And I'm gonna leave it with that.
we're looking for that one dot. That's one of the things
Hmm.
that one dot. There's 7 billion people in the world,
Hmm.
and we're not looking for the 7 billion people. We're looking for that one dot, and that
Hmm.
one dot could be one person, it could be 10 people, it could be 100 people, it could be 1,000 people, it could be 10,000 people. But can you imagine if we hit a million people? you
Wow.
know uh, that's huge. But
Oh
a
yeah.
million people compared to 7 million people is nothing, but just that one dot. And that is what we're looking for. We're narrowing it down to that one
Hmm.
dot, and that's one of the things.
Yes.
But well, thank you
Absolutely.
so much for just coming on board. But we're gonna have you again, and I'm more than willing to come into your audience, because you're an individual that I respect a lot. You always bring in a lot of valuable content, and I
Hmm.
thank you for that. So thank you so much for coming out with us
Thank you so
tonight.
much, man. Appreciate
Hey, I
you.
appreciate that. Hey, everybody, thank you so much for joining us tonight, and we'll see you for sure on the next one. Take care, everybody. Bye bye.